Welcome, fellow freaks, geeks, and nostalgic peeps, to my channel, Slime and Slashers, where, we talk about everything from Nickelodeon slime to horror movie slashers, but plenty of stuff in between, including books. Today's video, it is another book-themed video. Today, I will be going through with you guys all of the books for my book club in 2024. So I have every single month picked out. I'm super jazzed and excited. I hope you guys want to join me. If any of the books sound intriguing to you, my book club is called the Midnight Book Society, so stay right where you are. We'll go to the short intro, and when we get back, we'll go into all the deets. Welcome back, guys! As I said, this is the book club book reveal for the year of 2024 for my book club, the Midnight Book Society. It is named after the Are You Afraid of the Dark 90s TV show. I do love that show, and I did love that show back in the day, back in the 90s. But I actually loved a lot of 90s Nickelodeon shows, so I'm just like a 90s kid, you know, living that nostalgic life, and that is why I'm super happy that I named my book club after something that I truly love and I'm very nostalgic about. If you guys notice my background, I may or may not really love the 90s, since there's a lot of 90s things on this bookcase, but there's also some 80s things here and there because I do love the 80s as well. So my book club, it is free and it is open to the public. You do not have to be a part of my Patreon or anything like that. It is open to every single person, and I try to make it a very welcoming community. We do have a Discord, again, free and open to the public. It is linked down below if you guys are interested in any of these reads and want to talk about it over on the Discord. There is a way to hide spoilers, so if you do decide to join, don't be scared that you're going to get something spoiled. All you have to do is use 2 vertical lines before and after the text that you want to hide, and that should hide the spoilers. I also make sure to remind people of that on the actual Discord, so that is written in each channel at the top so that no one forgets to hide spoilers, because no one wants to be spoiled. We all might be at different parts of the book when we decide to talk about it on Discord. I will also let you know that I try to have a live show for every single book that I choose as a book club read. Not every month I have a live show, but almost every month, and that tradition is going to continue for 2024. And some months I even have the host, and in some cases more than one host, so the hosts picked out, and in other cases I might just host it by myself. But for the most part, I have at least 1 or 2 co-hosts, and I'm so excited. Also, I want to let you know that this is the 3rd year that I'm running my book club, so if you've been with me for previous reads in previous years, thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys sticking with me, and I hope you'll be pleased with the books I've picked out for 2024. So without further ado, let's get into the book choices. I don't know what that freaking thing was. Whatever, ignore it. January, the first month of the year. We're all gonna be busy. We're all gonna be trying to accomplish those New Year's resolutions, but one of the things that I try to do, doesn't matter if it's the new year or not, I try to read seasonally thematic books, and in January, the reason I chose this book is because it was seasonally thematic. So, Maynard's House. This is an oldie, but I've heard it's a good book. Some parts might be a little slow, but I hear that it's really well done in terms of characterization, and also it's a very unique take on a haunted house type of story. And this book was originally published in 1980, so it is a little bit older. However, you can find a digital e-copy online, and I was also able to find an audiobook for this on Hoopla, as well as Everand, which of course formerly was called Scribd. Whatever you want to call it now, I'm just going to call it Everand because that's the official name now. But this actually has a decent rating on Goodreads. It's rated a 3.60 on Goodreads, which isn't bad for such an old book. A lot of times older horror books are rated pretty low, so the fact that this is over a 3.5 is a good sign in my opinion. And I do have 2 co-hosts already picked out and confirmed for the month of January. Now I will say, not every single live show will take place in the same month as the book club read. Sometimes it might happen at the beginning of the next month. So just stay tuned. The times and the dates are to be determined. But as we get closer to that actual month and to the actual end of the month, I will let you know the official date and the official time, etc., etc. Because one of my co-hosts is not from the US, this actually might have a weekend live show more earlier in the morning. A lot of my live shows are during the week at night, but this particular one I know will probably be on the weekend during the earlier part of the day for US people. For my co-host for this, I will be joined by Ali from the channel Criminali, and Andrew from the channel It Came From The Page. I think we will have a fun, fantastic discussion. They are both such great creators. Please check out their channels. Every single channel of all of the co-hosts will be linked below, so please, please, please subscribe, check them out. And I love all these people. I wouldn't have asked them to co-host if I didn't. So super, super, super excited because Ali has never hosted a book club live chat with me, and neither has Andrew from my own book club. So yes! And the description. Let's get into what this is about.
For Austin Fletcher, any place was paradise after Vietnam, even the ancient house in the frozen Maine wilderness left to him by his slain buddy, Maynard Whittier, even with the loneliness and the cold. But this was a different kind of cold. It was worse than the cold of winter. It was even worse than the cold of death. It was the soul-chilling cold of an evil unimaginable, awakening after centuries to welcome him and make its terrible claim.
Also, I do want to note before we get into February that you might have seen my Richard Layman or Year of Richard Layman reading project for 2024 that will be happening alongside of this, but they are two separate things. You could choose to participate in just this, the book club reads for my book club, the Midnight Book Society, or just the Year of Layman, or you can choose to do both, or you can ping pong around and do one or the other, depending on the month. It's all up to you. Do as little or as much as you want, but this is separate from the Richard Layman thing. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I will link the Richard Layman video below. He is a controversial author, just please note that, and I do talk about that in the video. Once again, link down below if you want more info, but this is my book club, so it's a separate thing. February, we have Grimm Memorials, and notice that Grimm has two M's. So this is by R. Patrick Gates. It's another vintage book, much like Maynard's House. So this one is more of like paperback from hell type of book. It's probably going to be more splatterpunk, more gory, so I think it might be a little more extreme than Maynard's House. I have a feeling Maynard's House might be more subtle, more character-driven, more psychological. This, I think, will kind of be more in your face. I don't know for sure. This is all just speculation, but I'm excited either way. So this was published in 1990, so a little bit more recently than, let's say, Maynard's House, but still vintage, in my opinion. It kind of sucks that 90s is essentially vintage now, but it is what it is. I'm vintage because I was born in 1989, I guess, whatevs. Alright, so this actually has decent ratings on Goodreads, much like Maynard's House. This has a 3.64 as of right now, as the time I'm recording this. I am super intrigued because it says in every fairy tale, somebody dies. So it will have some fairy tale aspects to the book. Like I said, that's why there's Grimm with two M's. Like the Brothers Grimm, you get it? Alright, so the reason I chose this, my friend Kat over at the channel Kat's Novel Adventures, she will be hosting a readathon in February, and it will be fairy tale and folklore and folktale themed. And she did this last year, but now she may change and expand the prompts, but she's definitely bringing the event itself back, so stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe to her channel for more info and more deets as it gets closer to February. Again, she's at Kat's Novel Adventures. So in honor of that, I wanted to pick a book that had something to do with fairy tales. Now this definitely will have some fairy tale vibes in the book, some references to fairy tales in the book, and you could definitely see that even from that tagline I just read you. And I will read you some of the back of the book, and you'll be able to see what I mean even from the back of the book. Definitely will have to do with fairy tales, and it will be appropriate. So because of that readathon, I chose the book, but I also chose Kat as a co-host for the month of February when we do have our live show, whenever that is, whether it be the end of February or beginning of March. Kat will be joining me for the live show, and I'm so excited because she is well versed in fairy tales, so she'll probably have a lot to say about this and how it references fairy tales. I also will be joined by another co-host, and this is a unusual co-host in that I've never done a live show with this person before, and that person is Nathaniel Toll. He is an author of two of my favorite nonfiction books about movies, and so I'm very excited to be joined by him, and I'll explain why he'll be joining us in a second, but just to let you know, you can check out his books. One of my favorites is Pumpkin Cinema. It's all about great movies to watch for Halloween time. It's more mainstream movies, more well-known movies, but some hidden gems in there. But he has a brand new book out that is filled with more hidden gem type of horror movies, and that new book is Horror Galore, 300 Fantastic Fright Flicks You Might Have Missed. It's actually on KU, so check it out. And if you do check it out, please be sure to rate it because that does help out authors and it helps to push the book out to more people. I am so excited to be joined by Nathan, and I think Kat, Nathan, and I will all have a great discussion. P.S. The reason why I chose Nathan as a co-host. R. Patrick Gates, the author of Grimm Memorials, this book for February, he was his creative writing teacher. So Nathan had him as a teacher, so he will be able to give us some details about what he was like as a teacher, but he'll also give us his thoughts on the actual book itself too. So I think it will be extra fun because Nathan's a writer, but also freaking R. Patrick Gates was his teacher, so he'll have some I think interesting tidbits to give to us, some interesting dimensions to add to the freaking chat. So yes! Our basic premise of Grimm Memorials, we've got this family who moves to this town. Their new house is right on the edge of this creepy forest, and as you go into the forest, you might find your way to this woman's house, and she's a little bit creepy. And so, her name's Eleanor, and it says here,
Eleanor Grimm is a woman of desperate cunning, possessing unfathomable power, driven by the enchantments found in fairy tales. She has bewitched the parents of Northwood, keeping them spellbound and distracted from her true agenda, claiming the most innocent of souls. For more than 50 years, she has been spiriting away Northwood's children, and now she has set her sights on the new family.
And just to let you know, I was able to find this as an audiobook on Amazon. However, it is a little more difficult to find a ebook of this, but you can find used copies on thrift books or anywhere else where you might buy used books online, or you could just look around at different used bookstores if you like to frequent those in actual person. March is the month of St. Patrick's Day, and if you guys have been following me for a while, you might know that I freaking love St. Patrick's Day. I love Irish culture, so my book choice reflects that. And my book choice is Knock Knock Open Wide. This is actually a 2023 release, and it was published by Tor Nightfire. I love Tor Nightfire. I think they're a great publishing company. Lots of great horror comes out from there. And this one I'm super intrigued by because, as I said, it will totally fit with the Irish-themed vibe I will have going. I will be doing an Irish-themed reading vlog, and this will fit right in. And I'll tell you why by reading this blurb here. Knock Knock Open Wide weaves horror and Celtic myth into a terrifying, heartbreaking, supernatural tale of fractured family bonds, the secrets we carry, and the veiled forces that guide Irish life. Heck yes! I think even part of it takes place like in Dublin, and yeah, I even went to Dublin, so I'm extra hyped for this one, I gotta say. So this one, there is no audiobook, which is weird for a newer book, but of course you can find it in hardcover, like I have here, or paperback, or you can find an e-copy version as well. It does suck that there's no audiobook, and that's as of right now, of course. I'm filming this in December 2023. Who knows what will happen by March, but I think an audiobook would have been out by now if this was gonna have one, because it released a couple of months ago back in 2023. Either way, I don't mind physically reading this because I have a feeling, hopefully it's a correct feeling, that I'm going to love it. Right now, Knock Knock Open Wide is getting really good ratings on Goodreads. It has a 4.09 as of right now, and I think that's a pretty good rating. It makes me extra intrigued to pick this up. And my co-host for March will be Kelly from Kelly Hooked on Books. I'm so excited. We should have a fantastic discussion, so stay tuned for more deets, again, about the date and time. All right, April. Dun 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 dun. April, it's a huge month for me. If you guys are new here, you might not know, I run a very near and dear to my heart readathon, watchathon event. I really just like to call it a nostalgia-a-thon because it isn't just about reading prompts or watching prompts. We have a lot of activity prompts as well, which it prompts you to do different things that bring back some nostalgia. So really, it's like a big, huge nostalgia-a-thon. We just celebrate all things nostalgic, and that could be things from the 70s, 80s, 90s, even back into the 60s, the early 2000s. It doesn't have to just be 70s, 80s, 90s. It could be any kind of thing in the past. So I'm so excited, but there's also ways just giving you a sneak peek into the future. There are also ways where you're going to be able to read newer books. You don't have to just read vintage stuff or watch vintage stuff. You can watch newer stuff and read newer stuff as long as it has some kind of nostalgic vibe, or it could be a remake of something old. We'll get into more details as we get closer to April, but of course my book club pick has some kind of vintage flair to it. Now, like I said, you don't have to read vintage books, but my book club pick is a vintage book, but it's a vintage middle grade book. This is the Neverending Story, and this is actually a translated book, so I'm excited because I hardly ever read translated books. I really need to get better at reading more of those, but this was written by Michael and Ende, and it's translated by Ralph Manheim. At least this version is. I don't know if there are different translated versions out there, but I believe it was originally written in German, if I'm correct. The reason I chose this for April is because I love The Neverending Story. That movie is very nostalgic for me, and so I'm hoping that I will also enjoy the book, and that maybe it'll be a fun time to compare and contrast the book to the movie. I think it's gonna be a ball, and I hope you guys join me. Now, I will say it is hard to find audio for this, but I was able to. I don't think all of you will be able to find audio. However, you can find a physical copy at your library because this is a popular book, or you can find e-copies online. But again, audio, it's scarce, it's hard to find. I will say that this has a really good rating on Goodreads. It's rated a 4.18, and this was published originally in 1979. I think we all know the story of The Neverending Story if you've seen the movie, so I don't want to get into the description or the synopses, let's say. Let's just look forward to this. It's going to be my book club book either way. If you do want more information about it, you can look it up. Now, for my co-hosts for this book, for the live show. My co-hosts will be Amy from Amy Noel Reads, and Crystal from the channel Fiber Artsy. Now, Amy, I will say, loves this movie, just like me, so it's going to be very interesting. I know Crystal likes it too. It'll be really interesting to see what we think, and I'm hoping that we could all compare and contrast between the book and the movie when we have our live show. That will definitely be an element that will be discussed at the live show. It won't be just about the book. I think we're going to bring some discussion about the movie in as well, which I'm really looking forward to. So hopefully you guys, if you're intrigued, you're totally welcome to join us. Like I said, this is the official club pick for April. Let's go! Now for May, it's a haunted house type of story, The House Next Door by Anne Rivers Seidens. Now this is another vintage book. Not all my books are vintage. I've had some new releases already that I've revealed, and I've got some other newer releases that I will reveal for upcoming months. But I have to get in some vintage books when I can, and this one's pretty well known. A lot of people have already read it, but I know quite a few people who haven't, including myself, of course. That's why I made it my book club pick for the month of May. My co-host for this will be Elizabeth Sagewood. She is fantastic. I think she'll be a perfect person to talk about this book with. And just to give you guys an idea of the ratings, it's got a 3.88 on Goodreads right now, and this was originally published back in 1978.
It was an architectural masterpiece, every young couple's dream house. Suddenly within it, and everyone around it, families began to suffer, to go mad, to die. And then, with mounting terror, the family next door was struck with the paralyzing fear that they were next, that the pure horror of the house could not let them live, that their salvation lay in fire and murder, and that to survive, they must enter and destroy the house next door.
I love that synopsis. Yes, yes, yes. So just so you guys know, I was able to find audio for this, and I was personally able to find that on Hoopla, but you can get this used on any kind of site. You could also find a new edition on Amazon, and you could also find it on Kindle or in an e-copy version. The next book we're going to talk about is the book for the month of June. And summertime, I really consider summer kicking off around May, but June and July, I feel like we're in the peak of summer. So June and July is a time where I really love to read coming of age books. I love a good coming of age story, so of course I chose one for June. And I'm super excited because most coming of age books follow a group of boys or one boy in specific. This one that I picked out actually follows a group of girls. So I'm super interested to see if I'm going to enjoy this. I think I will. I love that it's going to follow a group of girls versus boys, because that's like every coming of age book ever, including one of my favorite books of all time, Boy's Life. Yes, it's about a boy, but they bring girls into it as well in the story at the end. But mainly it's following Corey, the main character in Boy's Life, but I love that book. It's still my favorite book, but I'm still excited for this June pick. This June pick is dun, 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 Knock Knock by S.P. Miskowski. And this is not to be confused with Knock Knock Open Wide, which is the book club pick for March. This one's a different book, but it does have Knock Knock in the title as well. So like I said, Knock Knock by S.P. Miskowski. This was published in 2011. It has a 3.83 rating on Goodreads as of now. You can find this on KU, and I found an Audible audiobook as well. So that's very handy.
The story is centered around three restless girls in the backwater of a small town in Washington in the late 1960s. Their neighborhoods and families are petty or poor or both. They warn the girls not to wander into the dense forest. Something evil lurks there, people say. The girls are not convinced, and during a playful oath, they wander too far into the woods. Their mistake unleashes a malignant spirit that terrorizes the town for the next 50 years.
For this one, my co-host will be Lauren from Happy Haunts Library. She is so analytical in the best sense of the word, so I'm really eager to break this book down with her, and I think she'll be a fantastic person to have a live chat with. I actually think all of these people will be fantastic people to have live shows with. That's why I asked them. But anyway, it'll be great to have a very academic discussion with Lauren, because she's always bringing, like, the kind of academic type of flair to live shows, and I love that, or to any of her videos in general. I think it's going to be awesome, and I'm really, really eager for this because I don't read a lot of coming of age about girls, like I said before, so I'm so glad I found one. The month of July, I'm going to be involved in something really fun with my friend Alex, the Bookubus. I cannot give you guys any details. You're going to have to wait for the deets from Alex herself when we get closer to July of next year, July of 2024. But for now, I can tell you that my book club book kind of is related to the event. Kind of. It's a stretch a little bit, but hey, she said, hey, it works. It's like on the fringes of being related to the event. But anyway, stay tuned. Make sure you're following Alex at the Bookubus so you get all the details and you find out what the event will be in July of 2024. But to let you know what my book club book will be, it will be dun, 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 The Final Gate by Wesley Southard and Lucas Mangum. This was published in 2021. It has a freaking 4.28 on Goodreads, which is really high. I know it might not have a lot of ratings, but it's still a really great rating. And I'm also going to be co-hosting the show with Alex because of that event we might be doing together. So again, Alex, you could find her at the Bookubus, and we'll be joined by Kitty from Spicy Cats Reads. I think it's going to be so much fun to talk about this book. Now, I will warn you, it even says, I'm about to read it to you, there's going to be splatterpunk and gory elements in this book. So just a warning, if you don't like the ooey gooey in your books, as my friend Elizabeth likes to say, you might not want to join in for this month. So here we go. Here's the description.
Something is terrifying the residents of St. Luke's orphanage. Gurgling moans echo through the hallways, hulking shapes lurk in the surrounding woods, and those who will wake in the morning will find one less child under their roof. Brandon and his girlfriend Jillian believe his younger brother is in serious danger. Even though the caretakers at St. Luke's told them that he's been adopted, Brandon has his doubts. With the help of a friend and a mysterious guide, they will do whatever it takes to find out just what is happening inside the orphanage walls and at the bottom of the basement steps. From Splatterpunk award-winning author Wesley and Splatterpunk award-nominated author Lucas and an introduction by Ryan Harding comes The Final Gate, the ultimate tribute to Italian horror master Lucio Fulci. With blood, guts, and all the nightmarish madness you'd expect from the godfather of gore himself, Southard and Mangum present a loving homage to spaghetti splatter and the glory of 1980s Euro horror!
This sounds epic as F, epic as hell, and literally this might be the book that I'm the most excited for, just because I like Fulci's movies, and comparing this book, saying that it's an homage to his movies, it's kind of nuts. It's kind of bonkers. And I think the book's going to be bonkers and also bloody as hell and gory as hell. So just again, one more warning. Do not join in if you don't like gory stuff or maybe more bloody things. It might be a little too extreme for you, but I'm here for it. I'm ready for it. By the way, you can find this on KU, Hoopla, Everand, and I also think there's an Audible audiobook as well. Now we're rounding out the summer months with Another vintage book. We've got Nightscape by Stephen R. George, published in 1992. This will be the official August pick. This was rated a 3.77 on Goodreads. I was also able to find a Kindle copy of this, and there's an audiobook of this, which is rare for some vintage horror. Another thing that's rare is, you might have heard me say, 3.77 rating. That is very high for a vintage horror book specifically. Usually vintage horror, it's like 3.2, 3.3, or even lower. So this one being a 3.77, it's kind of surprising in my opinion. And here's the premise.
8-year-old Evan was afraid to go to sleep. That's when they came. The people who wanted to take him away, change him, make him like them. They were more horrible than words could describe, and there was nothing he could do to stop them. Bonnie watched her son in terror. Every day he changed a little, grew weaker, paler. Each night he woke up screaming, "Don't let it get me!" And somehow she knew the horror was just beginning.
September's pick is another 2023 more recent release, just like Knock Knock Open Wide was a more recent 2023 release. I'm excited because I have a good mix, I think, of newer releases and vintage books. So here we go. This one again, published in 2023. It's Lacuna's Point by Tim Meyer. I've already read a book or two by Tim Meyer and I've enjoyed them, so I'm eager to read more by him. This one is rated a 3.66 on Goodreads. I will warn you, I have read from the reviews that this is a slower burn book, and it probably does contain a hint of weirdness in it. I think it's more considered like weird fiction, maybe cosmic horror, and I'm fine with a slow burn, but I do want to warn people who might not be into slow burns. However, there is an audiobook, so for those of you who struggle through reading physically, if it's a slow burn, at least there's audio. And also, just an FYI, this book is longer than 400 pages, so just be aware it's a longer book, and that's why I'm excited personally that there is an audiobook available. Here's the premise.
3 years ago, Ellie Brower's daughter went missing somewhere in the heart of Virginia. Today, Ellie receives a mysterious text message that leads her to believe her daughter might still be alive. She follows this rabbit hole to the coastal town of Lacuna's Point. However, there is something very wrong with that place.
There's more to the synopsis than that, but I don't want to give too much away. Let's just, discover it for ourselves when we get to it. I will say, because it is so long, I picked a second group book option. Lacuna's Point is the book that will have a live show, and I will tell you my co-host in a second, but I picked out a second book that will have a Discord-only group read-along section for discussion. So if you think that Lacuna's Point is too long for you, I have a 200 and something page book picked out that is also weird. And I picked out weird books in case the Week of Weird returns in September. The Week of Weird is a readathon hosted by Jason's Weird Reads and Crystal from Fiber Artsy. So check out their channels for updates on when or if the Week of Weird will be returning once, twice, or multiple times in 2024. I personally hope it will be, and if it does in September, then I'm ready with some weird reads. If not, then I am down for reading weird reads no matter what. And for Lacuna's Point, again, that one will be the book that will have the live show officially. The other book will not. Lacuna's Point live show will be co-hosted by Lexi from Books with Lexi and Katrina from Katrina Brown. So hyped to be talking to them about this book, and I hope we all love it. So just quickly, the other book that will have the group discussion area is The Hike by Drew McCary. That was published in 2016, and again, it will have a discussion area on Discord. It is rated 3.95 on Goodreads. There is audio on Everand, and there is a Kindle copy available. Time to talk about October, my favorite month of the year, spooky season, oh heck yes. And if you know me, I had to pick a thematic read to fit for spooky season, so I picked a middle grade book that I've heard wonderful things about, The Halloween Moon. I know specifically my friend Lauren, who I mentioned earlier, she has read this and loved it. This is by Joseph Fink, and it just sounds very heartwarming, but also a little fun, intense, and spooky.
Esther Gold loves Halloween more than anything. She is determined to go trick-or-treating again, even though her parents think she is too old. When the night rolls around, something feels off. No one is answering the door, and strange children roam the streets wearing creepy costumes that might not be costumes at all. So only her and her neighbor, best friend, and her bully can tell what's going on. So together, this unlikely crew must find a way to lift the curse that has been placed upon their small town before it is too late, because someone is out to make sure Halloween never comes to an end.
The Halloween Moon, you could easily find an audiobook on Hoopla and Everand. There's also, of course, e-copies available on Kindle, Hoopla, and Everand as well. So lots of options in terms of different ways to read it. It has a 3.73 on Goodreads, which is pretty high in my opinion, and it was published originally in 2021. So not that old of a book, but that doesn't make me any less excited to get to it. Now we come to the month of November, and for that month I chose Dark Matter, a ghost story by Michelle Pavier. This was published in 2010, and it has a 3.97 on Goodreads. It is hard to find this on ebook, by the way, so just a heads up, but I was able to easily find the audiobook on Audible, and you could also just buy a paperback copy. But if you're looking specifically for like a Kindle e-copy, it might be kind of hard to find specifically on Amazon, because I searched and it just wasn't coming up in English. It was coming up as like a foreign edition for some reason, but there is an audiobook.
January 1937. Clouds of war are gathering over London. 28-year-old Jack is poor, lonely, and desperate to change his life. So when he's offered the chance to join an Arctic expedition, he jumps at it. Spirits are high as the ships leave Norway. 5 men and 8 huskies crossing the sea by light of the midnight sun. At last they reach a remote, uninhabited bay where they all will camp for the next year. But the Arctic summer is brief. As night returns to claim the land, Jack feels a creeping unease. One by one, his companions are forced to leave. He faces a stark choice, stay or go. Soon he will see the last of the sun, as the polar night engulfs the camp in months of darkness. Soon he will reach the point of no return, when the sea will freeze, making escape impossible. However, the area is not uninhabited. Jack is not alone. Something walks there in the dark.
This just sounds fantastic. It gives me 30 Days of Night vibes, like the movie. I've never read the actual book or the graphic novel series, because there's a novelization and then there's the graphic novel, which the actual movie is based off of. But it gives me those vibes with like the polar, you know, the polar night, the freaking like darkness, the sun disappears. It sounds very creepy and spooky and very atmospheric, so I really want to get to this. I've never read anything by this author, but I have heard very positive things. For this one, I may just wind up co-hosting for myself. Same thing with the Halloween Moon. I don't have any official co-hosts for either of those choices, but I'm down to talk about books by myself if I have to. It's no biggie. But if any booktuber out there is wanting to host for those months, let me know. Maybe we could work something out. I will get in touch with you if you message me on Instagram, etc. Guys, I am so excited about this lineup. You might be saying, what about December? Well, December, I'll be taking the month off, so no official book club read for December. We'll just be doing January through November. I don't think that's a big deal. Lots of people are very busy in December. And by the way, I do want to announce and give you a heads up that I will be bringing back a public event. It'll be a readathon and a watchathon type of event for December of 2024. It will be called Holiday Hell, and I want to bring back a public event. Even though I had a Patreon only one for this December in 2023, I want to do a public one again because I want to provide some kind of fun for people who don't really like the holidays, or who might get down about the holidays, or who might find themselves wanting something to look forward to and not really having something that fills that gap for them. I'm hoping that the Holiday Hell event will. And you know what? Escape the holiday hell that is like the actual holidays and have a hellish good time with us, just reading and watching badass wintry things. It doesn't have to be horror, and it doesn't have to be wintry, by the way. It could be fantasy. It's going to be open to all genres. It could be romance. It could be thrillers. It could be freaking anything. I just want to do something fun that the whole community can get involved in. I'm going to be the host, but I'm going to open it up to allow community members to do official sprints in honor of Holiday Hell. Way more details to come. This is way ahead of time that I'm giving you this notice. I know it's like a year away, but I wanted to give you guys the heads up, and that is one of the reasons why I won't be having a book club book in the month of December for 2024, among other reasons. The readathon, and of course, yeah, people are busy, like I said. So yeah, I think it'll just be one less thing for people to worry about if I don't have a book club pick, but I am excited and really eager for January through November. I am happy with my picks. I really thought about the choices for a very long time before I came up with this final cemented list for the books for 2024 for the Midnight Book Society, so I hope you guys are happy with it. Let me know which books that we're going to read intrigue you the most. Which books are you looking forward to? Which months are you going to join in on? I hope you're going to join in a little bit. If you're too busy, no worries. There's lots of book clubs out there, and I appreciate anybody who takes the time to join in on my book club. It means so much to me. Again, it's our 3rd year coming up in 2024, and I'm so proud that it's been going strong for that long. So woohoo! I can't wait. Let's go 2024. I am really ready for the new year. I think it's going to be a fresh, new, wonderful start, and it's just going to be a great year for finding exciting reads that we all have not read before. So yes, let's go! Thank you guys so very much for watching. I appreciate it. You guys know that it means so much to me every time you check out one of my videos. I really, really just can't thank you enough. But for this time, guys, that is it for me. Till next time, you know what you can do. Keep on killing it. Bye, guys!